Welcome to my panel. This is how a game became a global phenomenon. Let's see. Please excuse the music. I was just putting that in for timing. So here's a little intro about me. So, hi, that's my favorite character. They won't let him out of jail. Still can't play him. This is Denial. So I go by T, but my in-game name is Whimsy. I don't really care. It's pretty interchangeable. I am AR60. I started in November 2020. I am a lore connoisseur. As you saw previously, if you say a single thing about lore, I will literally talk to you about the books of the game. Talk about the Fatui, I will talk to you about the Pale Flame artifacts that I will go in. It's very upsetting. Anyways, I am also going to be a Baizu main, maybe, someday, one day. Also, maybe a Pantalones main, maybe. If they're the same thing, that's going to be bad for me because they're going to never leave my team, but it's okay. My favorite character currently is, yes?
Since Baidu is a Dendro, that may be beneficial since Dendro is completely busted at the moment.
So Dendro is my favorite element, and when Tiggy came out and they just showed me Aggravate Quicken, I was like, element 2. Every single team has Dendro on it. Yeah, Dendro is cracked, and I'm curious to see how they're going to keep working around that, because the issue becomes, like, no offense, Geo's kind of Weenie Hut Jr. right now. So, and I mean, I'm not going to spoil some panels, but we've already had a few Geo characters we worked on before, cough, cough. So we're going to be talking. Yes, or just buff it up a bit more. I mean, we have Layla that can heavy shield up to almost Zhongli's with a high HP. Anyways, I also talk meta, so if you have a problem with your characters, it'll probably be 1 of 3 issues. You don't have good artifacts, you don't have good talents, or skill issues. So if you have any questions, I can help you up to that point. Other than that, it's skill issue or team comps. Team comps is a thing. And then unpopular opinion, another spoiler to what's coming. I personally think that Wind Trace causes more anxiety than Spiral Abyss. No, in a super bad way. I am a primo farmer down to not doing. I refuse to do Spiral Abyss though. 150 gems for a bad artifact, no. But the fact that I have to go into a game that they keep upgrading. Anyways, look, don't get me started on Wind Trace. I really dislike Wind Trace. So our agenda for today. So we're going to have the answer to why Genshin is a global phenomenon. I kid you not. It'll probably take about 3 minutes. I think we all know. And just a quick question before we start. How many people play Genshin? Okay, so the first rule of this panel is please uninstall it. Yeah, I kid you not. Since I've started playing Genshin in 2020, I've had about 4 or 5 friends that went, "What's Genshin Impact?" And I say, "Don't install it." And then they call me back saying, "I spent $100 to get this character," and I'm like, "Why are you like this?" So, Gamba's so fun when I get my waifus by Zuin. Anyways, we're gonna go over the answer, which is gonna be the quickest answer known to man, the good, the bad, and what's next? So the answer, again, why is Genshin a global phenomenon? How did this amazing gacha game from China excel so quickly? I can tell you all in one fun meme. Boop. When I saw that, I was like, I don't even need to do this panel. I literally could just hand this to people and then just go. But it's simple, right? So just to give you some specs about it. So the game released on September 28th in 2020. One of the things that actually makes it very successful is that it was cross-platform. So it was released on PS4, PC, iOS, and Android. Although we think that we're one of the biggest markets, the biggest market is still to this day China. In Asia as well, overall, mobile gaming is still the generalized gameplay structure, though that's also why you notice in future patches they introduced the thing where you can actually get rid of previous quests to save data, because I am a mobile player, and I am a mobile player who fell victim to teehee, I only have 64 gigabytes and this game requires 20 gigabytes. So it's been nice that they're working to cater to also PC and mobile gamers. And then just from Zoo EX, if anyone is a super Genshin frog who loves to look like a lot of information or who likes to look up general statistics, That's a Twitter user. He actually analyzes most mobile games across all of Asia, and he gave a pretty good like breakdown about why games are so popular and about just in general how games are performing across the board. So just from his tweets alone, it was estimated 50 million revenue in its first week across all platforms. We know that this is a $1 billion company now, and there was 20 million pre-registrations prior to launch and 17 million downloads in just 4 days. And one thing that also spread to it, obviously, was the hype of it. You can also argue that streamers helped to spread this, but we've also seen other games like Tower of Fantasy that was highly hyped that's not doing so well right now, comparable to Genshin. But there's also more. So just from the gaming structure of itself, it is an open world single player game. So for a lot of us introverts or people who are not looking for your next MMORPG, it's really nice that you get to get the full flesh of a game without having to call your friends up Friday night at 8 p.m. to raid. It also is a console quality game, so there's high visuals and constant updates in the game. So it's pretty nice that as soon as you start to get bored, 6 weeks later, there's a live stream, there's a new husbando, there's a new waifu, and there's a new friend who's losing $500. But it's also technically F2P, which is for those non-gacha frogs, but considering you play Genshin, we all know what free to play means, or free to pain. So the initial game itself and everything in it technically is free. I don't want to touch too much on the gambling aspects of it because we can beat that into the bush for any games about the concept and ethics of gacha games. And then it caters to both Chinese, which is their main audience, and international user bases. Another thing that I also personally didn't bring up, because that is a bit of a touchy topic, is the idea of censorship. So I know that there's been a lot of debate about whether or not the conversation of censorship is good or bad, but even with the backlash of the censorship of many of the characters, some of which I do not have, it still is a pretty successful game. So that's one thing I did want to bring up. But the assets. So when Genshin first came out, for all of you who have been playing since launch, shout out to all the people who's been suffering for 2+ years. A lot of people did argue that there was a lot of Legend of Zelda assets that were being taken from Genshin, but considering all the games that have been stealing from Genshin lately, lol. They did actually, interestingly enough, address this very quickly. In one of the first interviews, they basically said, they were like, look, we love Legend of Zelda. We did kind of borrow from them, but our goal is not for you just to see the comparisons, but to show what more we could bring to the game. So where you stand on that ethically is personally up to you. I feel like in general, a lot of people steal assets, some more obvious than others. I personally feel like it's up to the person whose assets are stolen to go after them, because Nintendo plays no games. So if Nintendo wanted that green, they would have gone after Genshin very quickly. Rip to all the Pokemon fake mons. But anyways, so that's pretty much the simple answer. Like I said, it took me, less than 10 minutes to tell you why the game was so successful. And was anyone surprised? No. So, but I'm here to just say, I do like to also talk about the goods. So let's talk about the 150/50s of Genshin Impact. Let's talk about the non-Chi-Chi, Mona, Delu, Kaching, Tignari, and Jean pulls of Genshin Impact. The characters. So this is why we are all broke, right? Right. It's the most important aspect of the game. So this is one of the, basically one of the directors of Hoyoverse. He said this at a conference in 2021. This is a quote that is most often misused. A lot of people are like, Genshin said it's just for the characters. And they're like, he literally just said, no, it's the most important aspect of the game. And to this day, it is for me. Unfortunately, I am a character pooler, but just from Genshin Labs, I didn't say this before, but I like a lot of numbers and I like a lot of research, so I try to keep myself to a minimum, but there's gonna be a lot of numbers and information on these panels. So via Genshin Labs, the highest revenue characters are Ayaka's rerun, the 240-day Ayaka rerun. Yeah, I keep spoiling my own panel, right? Nahida and Yoimiya's rerun, which totally was because of Yoimiya. Totally. Our rerun Archon. And then Raiden Shogun and Kokomi, which totally was poor, honestly, for both of them, because Kokomi came back during a heavy time where people were like, when everyone was making the Kokomi memes, Kokomi and Kazuha both like just shaking hands, where they were both like clowned their first banner, now magically second banner, everybody has one. So one thing that's also nice about this game is that guaranteed pity means that you can generally accrue or plan for characters. For all my FGO frogs, for all my Fire Emblem frogs, for all of my Project Sekai frogs. We know characters aren't guaranteed. Or if they're guaranteed, it's going to be the longest, most painful trudge. Or idols, A3, Idol Mass, just any idol games. And so one thing that makes Genshin very unique is the fact that you know that in 180 pulls that character is yours. Sure, you can complain that that's a bit high, but given that I've gone over 300 pulls for a character and haven't gotten one, I'm personally not complaining. And then my favorite panel and my favorite part, can we just talk about the music? Can we just talk about the music? So I personally am not a person who got a math or a music major. I got my master's in basically business statistics, whatever. But the one thing about this music, we were talking about this prior to the panel, each nation has a unique track. There is no, you don't walk into Mondstadt and then walk into Inazuma and go, wow, I'm in the same place. No, each place you go to, you can feel that it's truly the nation that you want to be in. And for someone who uses Spotify and whose number one has been Hoyo Mix / Yuping Sheng for 2 years now, can tell you that there's over 15 hours of music. I personally have a playlist. And one thing that's interesting is that each song pulls unique instruments from country inspiration. So I'm not going to insult people and try to pull different instruments from different nations that I personally don't know much about, but there's a lot of unique string instruments in Inazuma because it's pulling from Japanese-based instruments. We go to Liyue, and you just have a lot of, especially Asaha, they use a lot of ancient Chinese that's still not used to this day for proof of how old he is, just our old little frog friend. There's also unique character songs. I'm sorry, Farazan for a 4-star. Her music is just really good. Like there's not much change in quality no matter the level of the characters, so that's kind of nice and refreshing because for a lot of games, especially gacha games, you'll see a lot of like 4 stars and 3 stars get casually blown off to push their 5-star agenda, to push your wallet agenda, which they kind of do it in Inazuma, but that's a different topic. But you start to feel a bit of a unique, and there's also ties to characters in the character songs. Like I love Sarah, obviously I love Sarah. Will of Thunder, her song has a lot of callbacks to Raiden, which is great. And then open world music, and then just because I love music so much, I did include some boss music. Spoiler alert, that's totally nobody that you've ever met before if you've never played Genshin. Nobody, absolutely. But this is actually from the boss music. I will say I have personal preferences of where songs are, but what I did with YouTube is that I stole the parts where that said they were the most replayed. Let's see. Is that loud enough or do you need me to turn it up? Turn it up? Okay. Oh no. Sorry, I have to turn it up. Sorry, hope it's not too loud. Better? So this is totally not a boss theme, but it is. So that was from Scaramouche, thank you. That was from the False God battle. And so one thing that is very unique about that song is, as you could see at first, you could almost feel like there was tension rising and you could hear like a boy almost crying. And then you hear the song build up and then shift and you remind you, you're in the Sumeru at this point, so you're in the country that's kind of based more on the east side of Asia, and then it switches, and you're like, I'm back in Inazuma. Wait, what? And so that's an interesting twist that I truly like. I feel like once that beat drops, everybody just starts doing whatever they need to. I just start, just rocking my shoulders because it's a bop. But I figured I would try to introduce a song from every nation. So this is also another boss song that I personally like. Listen. Yup. So, anyone ever try Dark Souls mode and go into that battle without shields? I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it's like, how do shield 5 head? So for all of those non-Genshin frogs, so that was the battle against Azaha, our big frog friend, who honestly, when his boss battle, that's another thing. No matter what you do, every boss battle is very unique. Like, okay, if I go against Azaha, I know to bring a shield. If I go against Scaramouche, I know not to bring Raiden. But as you can see, again, you felt that tension build up, but somehow it was different. It was unique. It was not just rinse, repeat. And it's just something that Genshin does best. And then I put the third song in because I have a bit of a bias. But I also like this because I wanted to bring this third song in. Because like you said, the first 2 songs are very like heart pumping. It gets you heart throbbing, gets you ready to fight. This song is not a boss battle. And for anyone who was around when this dropped, I'm sorry. I feel like Genshin itself cracked when this song dropped. But, oh no, where'd it go? Let's see. Are we gonna play? Oh! This is why I shouldn't try to touch things. Columbian is so terrifying, bro. We can't even play her music, Monka. So for anyone who was around in July, I got Baizu 2.0, so obviously I lost myself. But I'll talk about this later, but for all of those who don't actually actively look at leaks, but for those who do, this was one of the only times across the board where nothing was absolutely leaked. So we were all just sitting there at midnight in Genshin, it's like, here's all the 11 for 2, goodbye. And everybody just went. So, and it was like, and then you just saw like 800 videos breaking down all of Elogia Cinerosa, and I feel like that was another great part of Genshin, was just seeing everyone, including the artists, crack, because the devil works fast, but artists work faster. But another great thing about Genshin that I personally like is that there's so much to do. Lore frogs, rise up. Every time there's a new bit of content, it's just like, whoo, time to start tearing things apart. But I do like the fact that, there is some debate on how deep lore should be hidden, but Genshin, I think, does it a bit unique where they have it in books, they have it in weapons, they have it in artifacts, they have it in storylines. So it's like you have to pay close attention to every little thing that happens. For those people who like Animal Crossing, there's always Serena Teapot updates. So they now have it that you can basically share your visions with each other, so you can have your own beautiful teapot. I keep promising myself that I'll build up my teapot, but currently it's just 3 people sitting in front of a house, so that's a different topic for later. There's constantly 4 to 6 week updates. So with new updates come new characters, there comes new rerun events, and there comes world expansions. I'm sorry, I am so ready for the Sumeru expansion. I'm at 63% on my exploration, and it's driving me bonkers. There's also Spiral Abyss for our meta frogs. I am not a meta frog because I'm not going crazy for constant HP boosts. Also, for anyone fighting the danger doggos right now, not my taste personally. And then just exploration of foreign nations. So just alone, previously it used to be able to clear up to the current storyline in about 2-3 weeks if you were a no-lifer. It's taking up to closer to a month now because of how much is restricted behind Inazuma. But one thing that's nice about Genshin is that you kind of don't have to play chronologically. I've seen a lot of people just go, I have to go to Inazuma? Oh no, I'm in Gandhara Village. How'd I end up in Sumeru? Oh dang. And then I've tapped back to this as well. There's also external events. I still find the Alps thing a bit weird, but they went to Europe and did a whole event where you could just go skiing and see Albedo and Ito. Why was Ito there? Yes.
What do you consider worse, this or the Elon Musk Twitter account?
Don't spoil my panel. There was also the teleport waypoint. That was also another weird event where it was like the only time they actually came to the East Coast, you had to go to like the middle of Queens to take a picture with a teleport waypoint, and you just got a free Hilichurl mask, and it was just like. And now there's a current event where I think you could tell Cleo Wish, but you have to go over to free something New Jersey, and I'm like, who lives in New Jersey? Like, hello. No, but it's not even like a part of Jersey people lives in. It's like 20 minutes outside of Trenton. Like, who's going there? And then there's also, I don't know if anyone has gone to any of the big cons. So I like to hop cons. Like Anime NYC, there's always a big booth where you can take the pictures with different artists, different cosplayers. There's also the orchestra concerts, which I'm ready for my next one, Mihoyo. When will it be? And then there's also just generalized fan art events. I'm not too sure if people also watch the animations that come from the fan art events. Oh my gosh, the Fatui one. That song. Every time it plays, I'm like, put it on Spotify so it could be my top one song. Thank you. And then let's talk about the bad. It's kind of funny how the bad ended up being Inazuma, because Inazuma has one of the biggest question mark storylines. But that's a different topic. But yeah, right? It's question mark. So what I meant by the bad is I brought up some of the events that's happened in the past 2 years to not only give you nostalgia, but to also make you realize that sometimes a little bad is good so that we can actually see change. So the first big bad. Anyone remember this? Oh boy. So this was December. So remember, I actually remember the exact day I started the game. So a lovely friend in the audience lied to me. And so I was on Twitter in November 6th to be specific. And I saw a great green man with a long braid and a midriff. And I was like, what's that? And he's like, oh, that's Baizu. He'll be coming soon. I downloaded the game. I'm like, okay, this is a great game. A month later, this happens. I'm like, what is Genshin Impact? What did I get into? So for anyone who saw, so this was during the Liyue Archon quest, and this was also when Zhongli with his amazing song and story came out, and he just came across as what many people expected to be a DPS. However, for anyone who knows Zhongli, he is a support. He is meant to support, and unless you have C6, he is just meant to support. But if you have C6, you wail. He also heals. But everyone was expecting a DPS to come out, and all they got was a guy who just kind of shielded. So there was a demand to update his kit, but this was a unique situation. So not to say anything about us, but America server is kind of loud. We kind of loud. And so whenever we start to complain about things, we say a lot of things, but most of the time, like, we'll just get like a nice pat on the back and then they just move on. But this one was a unique situation. This was international. So as you can see, most of those pictures, none of those pictures are from actual American cosplayers. That was from an event in China, like one of the first events they had during the pandemic, which was also very big, question mark, where there was multiple Zhongli. I think this was 2021. Multiple Zhonglis just walking around in like wheelchairs to show how like old he was because his kit was just so bad. And so this is the first and only kit that got buffed post Spanner. He went from just raising the base attack, because his first kit was like, instead of raising your shield strength, and it only raised your base attack, and then it didn't stop you from interruption. Also to be kept, I'm sorry, that Yai buff they tried to give, that was horrible. Like, yeah. Yeah, the I'm gonna hit things continues to hit the fire pit. Like, why are you like this? Yeah, so as you can see, I think it took about 3-4 weeks before they were like, JK, we're gonna fix this kid, we're gonna fix this kid. I'm sorry. But it also makes sense because Liyue is based off of China. Surprise, spoilers. And so a lot of people were like, this is the Archon. This is our Archon. Yeah, no. And so the next one, this is going to be a contentious debate. Argue with your parents. I'm not going to argue it. The Leakers Hunt Decree. So spoiler alert, with Raiden comes Leaker hunts, I swear. So this was early 2021. This is, I personally am not fond of leaks because I don't want to know the storyline. But I understand that some people prefer leaks to see where some characters sit, where they live your truth, just don't put it on blast. So this was early 2021. So Hoyoverse filed a lawsuit against Bilibili. So they determined the identities of 11 leakers. And when they caught them all, they, I believe they all either served jail time or had some substantial fiscal payments they had to do because they signed NDAs. And where in our side of things that leakers are kind of given a slap on the wrist, it's a huge thing in other nations. So for all those people who still use Honey, I don't personally use them. What is it? Honey Impact? Honey? The website that shows all the kits. I personally don't use it because he said a lot of ugly things when stuff happened. But either way, he was given a cease and desist from Hoyoverse as well, basically telling him, take off our information and we will go seek legal action because that's where a lot of international leaks occurred. So that was a huge thing that blew out that ended up with him creating a new domain, getting rid of all the possible like trademarked items. Still posting leaks though, so I don't really know what to achieve from that. So as we learned, with Raiden comes all leaker decrees. And then I'm sure we all know this, whether or not we play Genshin. Who remembers the first year anniversary? Also, unpopular opinion, I feel like the second year awards was the same exact as the first year awards, but no one said anything. But okay, so this was the end of 2021. So the first rewards was an unspecified amount of Primo Gems, in-game materials, and 100,000 Mora. And who forgot the chicken? We also got chicken. So I understand why many people took offense. A lot of people review bombed. A lot of streamers were going up in arms. Everybody was uninstalling games. Thankfully, no one broke their PS4 like other people did, but that's a different topic. There was also a lot of arguments because the wings that we did end up getting for free was actually part of a $30 pack that leakers found that they were initially going to try to sell to us before skins. So yeah, it was a pretty ugly time to be a Genshin player, and I was kind of hoping that something would have come from it. I mean, it did. We got resin and wings, but I guess. But for all the review bombing, trolling, I'm sure amount of letters, that's... Oh, and then also, let's not forget, remember how they did it again this year where you could enter like a raffle on HoYoLab to get 100,000 Mora or a Welkins? So I created a side account just so that I can go deep into the lore whenever I had downtime. My main account, this AR60, got 100,000 Mora, which I don't need because I have 30 million Mora. My alt account that does nothing, still in Mondstadt, got a Welkins. I was like, why are you like this? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm not going to log in 30 to either way. So yeah, the Welkins thing is a joke to me, but like someone else spoiled, good old Elon Musk.
Sorry.
So this was October 14th, which was fairly recent. Well, I guess not fairly recent anymore. What is time? I don't know if anyone was there for the 10 minutes that it was up, but it was probably the funniest 10 minutes of my life. I think I ended up crying. It was so funny. So basically, Genshin Official drops this entire tweet. And remind you, Genshin Official doesn't delete tweets, so you know this was bad. Where it was like, okay guys, tell us how much you love us so we can invite Elon Musk to our headquarters. And we're all just like,
No.
huh? The amount of clowning that occurred in that tweet, it took all of 10 minutes. As you can see, that was one of the pictures that came down from it. It was like, if you follow us, we'll bring in. It was just like, but what are we getting? And then Elon Musk even responded like, hey guys, guess I'm going to Genshin Impact. So, fun fact, Elon Musk actually was, like the name is based on Elon Musk. Another interesting thing about Elon Musk that makes her kind of sad. This is just a side lore frog topic, but her original model was supposed to be a young adult, but I guess Hoyoverse just decided, Hoyoverse decided she couldn't be a young adult. Hence Ayaka. But anyways, they decided that she wasn't going to be a young adult anymore and make her a kid because they needed more kid NPCs. However, if you still talk to a specific NPC in Mondstadt, they talk about how cute Elon Musk is, and now it's super creepy. Everything about her is just creepy now. But either way, on brand. Yeah, on brand. Just don't help her quest. Oh yeah, no more was it Mola Ziki or something like that. But yeah. Mond who? I refuse to go back there because every time I go back there, I try to do that stupid Fatui quest to get the card where you have to do all of his dumb quests in like 20 seconds.
My stuff is random, so.
Oh, I gotcha. I don't know. I think, yeah, no, mine's based in Sumeru because I just want to stay there forever. Dendro main, by the way. Oh, no, the weasel one. You mean you don't want to jump on mushrooms 5 times for no reason? Yes. Huh? It was also Ella too. Yeah. No, Fiona's the one with the flowers, but it was, I'm pretty sure it was Ella because pretty sure because I think he is near Fiona though, like he's near the flowers on Mondstadt, but I had to double check myself, but I'm pretty sure it was Ella, Elon Musk. But anyways, this was, I think, the funniest time that I've ever seen a tweet get deleted so quickly. So it was quickly deleted, but never forgotten. Yeah, right. And then Ayaka for now, Ayaka forever. So this one was actually a bit sad. So a lot of people actually didn't realize, and it's actually occurring right now. So there has been many a times where, especially China or Shanghai specifically, where Hoyoverse previously was stationed before they became Cognosphere for different topics that I'm not going to bring up. Though it is pretty cool they became Cognosphere. They became Cognosphere because they want to do more than just create video games. They're actually, like, their whole thing about being tech otakus is actually true. They put, like, I think 63 million to helping to basically help climate change. So pretty cool topic, side story. This is from April to May. So unlike America, where we see spikes and we're just like YOLO, China is very strict on the fact that they will shut down everything. So in April, we were seeing spikes in China with the COVID outbreak. So the 2.6 banner was extended indefinitely. So that's where the 240 days came from because no one knew. Everyone was just kind of sitting there, twiddling their thumbs, spending all their money pulling her. Hence why she has one of the highest banners. But anyways, the good news is that many people got their Ayaka. One of the people that I personally know only plays the game for Ayaka. So he got his C6 Ayaka very quickly. And one of the side effects of that was the first 3 patches of Sumeru was shortened, so the game could be back on track. To be fully honest, unpopular opinion, I kind of like the faster tracks because I am not a person who pulls a character just because they're meta. So most patches, I'm just sitting there twiddling my thumbs like, I did the Archon quest. I've juiced all series I can. Next character, please. And then let's us talk about the Genshin killer. So this was August 2022. Tower of Fantasy itself, not the fans, not the streamers, not some random guy you'd find on the street asking for $1. Tower of Fantasy itself announced itself as the Genshin killer. Let's just preface this by saying Genshin is an open world RPG game. Tower of Fantasy is an open world MMORPG. We're not even in the same lane. But they swore up and down that they were going to be the Genshin killer. So many streamers joined the wave to compare the 2 games. I don't know if anyone else is a person who lives a lot on Twitch, but everyone and anyone was streaming Tower Fantasy, just like Lost Ark, rip to Lost Ark. However, with how many bugs there were and how unpolished the background was and how the story was there, a lot of criticisms about the lack thereof story. Here we are, less than 5 months later, and Genshin is totally dead. And then my favorite article of the year, Spiral Abyss equals anxiety? So this was October. This is where everybody got their bang and buck with clickbait YouTube articles. But so GameSpot made an article where they talked to Hoyoverse developers. And I'm a personal person where I'm like, if you talk to developers, I feel like most answers are going to be vague, which it was, unless it was a no. I think one of the big things that people took away besides the Spiral Abyss was the fact that Lumine and Acer were not getting new skins, which okay, I guess. That's fine, whatever. But one of the quotes that most people stuck to was the fact that when they asked about additional endgame, whether it be like an extension to Spiral Abyss or some type of game that would be permanent, such as Wind Trace, or even what other games do a lot of people like? Like the Ludi, huh?
Thank you.
Tower Defense was another one. Ludi Haparstrom, like all of those games, just like open world games. Because I'm going to be honest, I have not heard a lot of people enjoy the Tower Defense games recently because they keep changing around, just like Wind Trace, where they keep changing around, but they're making it less fun and more time consuming. Like the fact that Wind Trace this time around was like 4 minutes instead of 3 minutes, and you're just kind of sitting there like
I have a shrug.
hiding in a tree with a Nahida, hoping no one catches you. But yeah, no, my favorite strat to this game still is hiding underneath grapes in Dawn Winery as a little lantern and then walking away, because that's how much I dislike that game. But as you can see, the quote basically said that if we created any more in-game, it might end up creating excessive anxiety for our players. So a lot of people took to trolling this comment, where anytime anything happened, someone was always like, think of the anxiety. And so it's still going on because it happened less than like a year ago. So whenever anything happens, it's always think of the anxiety. But I don't really take the article to heart because, like I said, if you speak to the developers, they really don't know what they can and can't say because they're not the CEO. So take what you want from that article. And then just who we needed to see twice, just who everyone shouldn't see too. Leakers Hunt 2, Discord Boogaloo. So this was December. So the next leaker that was tried to take down, I don't know how many people know of Ubacha. He was a big Western leaker. So most people actually look to them or Savior Primos for leaks. And this one was a unique one because Discord, not Billy, this time they went international. Discord was subpoenaed by Hoyoverse to basically say, give us all of our information so that we can serve papers. And so there isn't much currently that has been followed up on. I don't believe that Discord has yet responded publicly, but I do know that Ubacha basically wiped everything and came back 2 weeks later like, everything's okay, guys. I don't leak anymore, and I don't blame him. But there now brings up a question where, is every rating banner going to be a leaker's decree? Because like, the only time that we've seen these things occur is when writing keeps coming back, and it's like, sis, we know you like your decrees, but I'm kind of curious what's going to happen now. Like I said, where you stand on leaks, I will fully respect because both sides have justified arguments. Just please tell me when Baizu's coming. So what's next? Is there primos involved? See, your first question, you're like, is there primos involved? What is next? I'm excited because there's a live stream on Friday. Who's getting up at 8 a.m. tomorrow to watch the live stream because they haven't missed it for 2 years straight because they have no life? Yeah. There has been some discussion that this might be a developer live stream because there hasn't been any chibis, so I'm kind of hoping for new areas because I don't know, I'm ready to 100% my tree. And so with new patches comes new characters, which means that we're getting drip marketing on Mondays. So will it be Deha? Will it be reruns? Will it be Kave? Please give me Kave at least. Or Baizu. And then another thing I just wanted to talk about. So they did confirm for any of those who have watched the past map, oopsies, the game is anticipated to go until at least 2025. So I myself am personally a bit curious to see what else is to come, because I feel like they have been wrapping up a lot of the countries pretty well. But with every wrap up of a country, they introduce a new aspect that can't be described, like explained. Like, a bit of a spoiler alert. One of the key takeaways from Leeway that I wasn't too fond of was the fact we went to Zhongli and we're like, so what's wrong? And he's like, I know everything, but I got a contract, lol. And you're just like, yes.
Whenever that comes up on my Reddit or something like that, I just tell them to look up the Porky Pig clip, the old Warner Brothers Porky Pig clip, where there's this like little gremlin cowboy who dances around singing, I know something I won't tell.
Basically, is that not Zhongli? Look, if there is, like, everyone's always talking about sus archons, I still think that Venti's #1. But the fact that Zhongli is just like, I know everything, and Nahida and Raiden are just like, I'm just like, Zhongli, don't shield me from my knowledge. But yeah, so the game is anticipated to go until 2025. I'm curious to see what it will bring. I'm also curious to see if Kabe or Al Haitham or Baizu, you can see him in the corner. Baizu in the corner, please. I'm curious to see what will come. But I am a person who personally likes to always leave an extra 15 minutes, so I've kept to it afterwards for any thoughts or questions. So, yes.
Do you think that Genshin even needs an actual endgame? Because that's kind of the reason why I stopped playing it. It just, the endgame loop wasn't fun, but obviously I'm pretty much in the minority if it's still this successful without.
So I'm going to personally say, as someone who used to play 4 gacha games in like consecutively every day, Genshin doesn't need an endgame. I feel that Genshin has high demand because you come into it almost feeling like it's a console game, because they give you, like, it's almost as if you're playing through like Persona, where it gives you a storyline, it gives you activities, it gets your brain in a mindset that you are playing a $60 console game. But this is what gacha games do. The whole idea isn't for you to have something long term. It's something for you to keep to return to in short, like the ideal Genshin gacha game has you play for 2 to 3 hours maximum a day and keep coming back and checking on it. So I personally don't feel like Genshin needs an end game, because I feel like it would increase rates of addiction and pulling. Because like there's an ongoing joke that a lot of people will only decorate their center teapot because it's resinless behavior. And so I feel like creating an end game is only going to like increase that attachment personally. So it's like, because I've done a lot of research on gacha games, obviously. I just love looking stuff up. So I don't personally feel like they need an end game. I feel that it's almost as if you have to tell yourself, like, this is only supposed to be 2 hours max. I need to move on to the next thing. Yes.
Speaking of endgame, though, and looking at a lot of sessions on like the meta folks that play for to like test out their accounts, there really is a huge disparity in like when you've got a full C16 that can clear stuff in 30 seconds to what the minimum is for the hardest content. And every now and then Wills will talk about, I can't test my account out on anything. Do you think that there is a point where Genshin has to increase the difficulty, because even if you pull just C2 of characters, you're just curb stomping everything?
I'm going to throw out that caveat. I think I have 2 answers. So the first one is that I think that there should be a way that you can fix your loadouts, or maybe even play around with constellations. I've liked that idea that some people have introduced, where you can remove or edit your constellations. I will also say that I don't have the data personally, because Hoyoverse is very protective of their data, and most income or batch, like any banner information, is hidden behind paywalls. Most of the population is always going to be casual players. No matter what gacha game you play, it's going to be a heavy load of casual players. And so what will get you money faster? A bright, shiny character, or giving whales good end game input? And where is that middle ground? Because I feel like the focus is still on the casual teams of people, because I personally feel that most people that I know do play the game casually, where they log in for their favorite character, they spend money for their favorite character, and then they log off. There's not many people you can discuss meta with. There's not many people that you can discuss the builds of. Like if I talk national team, that's the only thing people understand. But I agree with you. There should be more with whales, but at the same time, what can you do? Because you can't keep making correct characters, otherwise you're going to have power scaling. But their current solution right now is just to keep dumping extra HP into the Spiral Abyss, which is why I personally no longer play, because it's the same exact characters. It's always Massive Stinky or Magu Kinky. It's always the Wolfhounds, and it's always the Mechanical Array. The only difference is that now they have 50 million HP as opposed to 45 million HP. So they're scaling up Spiral Abyss through HP. I think it would be interesting if they added scales to Spiral Abyss, but I personally don't feel like they will, as long as they can continue accruing money just from a character. Because like a lot of people will say that they regretted pulling a character, but you can regret all you want, they still got your money. Yes.
One thing I wanted to say early on of why is Genshin so popular. So I at least came into Genshin from breaking off my addiction with Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, which not quite a gacha, but a pure collector game. And the biggest thing that especially affecting the end game is that even at the end game, it's PvE and not PvP.
Yes.
Because whatever they're doing, and it's a very healthy thing compared to what a lot of PvP games are doing, is that the whales are competing against whatever Hoyoverse throws at them, and not the other whales.
Yes. I also will throw out, they did introduce an endgame aspect with the TCG, and people are already bored with it because everyone min-max, like those people who are, what's argued before as time whales, have already level 10, gotten everything across. So it's like, how do you keep catering to people who are going to burn through content almost immediately to keep them in the game? But then it's also an opportunity cost. Are you going to keep them, or are you going to keep the people who just log in, spend money, and leave? So it's like one of those weird weighted games where it's like, that's why I personally play a bunch of different games at one time. Like I'll be playing Genshin and watching a stream, or I'll be playing Project Sekai and suffering because I keep getting Ina, but that's a different topic.